So hey, I was beginning to think I was running out of content, but it seems things are slowly perking up with the sudden output of trailers coming out. Maybe the worst is over. And it times out quite nicely, as after Ghostbusters, I thought I'd pretty much finished my list of trailers I wanted to talk about. But it turns out, even amongst the new announcements just now coming out, there was actually a trailer I missed earlier in the year, releasing back on the 2nd of April 2020, and that is Peninsula. Who'd have thought I'd have to be subscribed to, well, Go USA Entertainment to see the whole picture. Now, Peninsula as a title doesn't sound too enticing, and the marketing people seem to get that, so its full title is actually Train to Busan Presents Peninsula, and a few other versions in other countries. Now that sounds a whole lot more enticing, as it's very starkly a sequel to the 2016 Korean zombie hit, Train to Busan. Who'd have thought the East would have a much better grip on marketing than their Western counterparts? And funnily enough, even after my first draft of this script, a whole second trailer popped up, giving me even more work to tackle. Still, this is some pretty big news, and though it's been known that there's a sequel in the works for quite some time, seeing the actual trailer gives us all sorts to talk about. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's first talk about what makes this so exciting, and just what made the original so iconic. Because when people are asked what's the best zombie film of all time, there are a good handful of iconic pieces. Shaun of the Dead, for example, with its dizzying direction and hilarious dialogue, 28 Days Later with its gritty and terrifying take, or Zombieland for being oh so American. But Train to Busan is a fairly new entry to the zombie library, but despite this, it is hailed as one of those high-ranking masterpieces of film, garnering several awards across all sorts of ceremonies and being incredibly popular in South Korea as well as internationally. I mean, I'm talking about it. And though I want to be better, the only Korean films I know are this and Parasite, like a lot of other people I know. So if you're not aware about Train to Busan, I highly recommend you watch the film and enjoy it for yourself, as it acts as both a fantastic zombie film with a unique setting and rule set, as well as being a great emotional journey of characters and social commentary on the society of South Korea. This is some seriously smart stuff. Though we won't actually be talking about specific spoilers from the film, but you might see some clips you might have preferred not to. You've been warned. So though I've just about scratched the surface of Train to Busan as a film, we're actually going to hop onto the new trailer for a moment, as this is what's actually bringing this video up today. As a bit of context, while Peninsula is a sequel to Train to Busan, none of the same characters will be popping up. Peninsula is to take place in the same world as Train to Busan, but it isn't a direct follow-up of any of the survivors in that film. Similarly to how there was a prequel animation film to Train to Busan by the name of Seong Station, that depicted a whole nother batch of characters' stories amidst the disaster that again didn't connect to everything. But since this is the same world we're dealing with, then we know one thing's for certain, and that is the rule set of this rendition of zombies. Every zombie adaptation takes a slightly differing take on how the zombies act. You know how it is. In The Walking Dead, they follow by smell, so plastering yourself in guts makes you effectively invisible to them. In Shaun of the Dead, they're awfully slow and suspenseful, and in the world of Train to Busan, the zombies are both upgraded and have a pretty prominent weakness. In this cinematic universe, zombies are rabid. They may move slowly during their first moments, but once they're activated, they can sprint. They will clamber over each other and in some cases even seem to work together to get a task done. On top of that, reanimation is quick, or at least can be. It's a tad inconsistent in Train to Busan in favor of dramatic tension, and though it's never been tested with an exploding head, the zombies don't really seem to be all that killable. Or at the very least, not everyone is equipped with a gun like over in Murica, so many action scenes are just delaying the inevitable. It also makes it a whole lot more suspenseful when the threat cannot be stopped. But one pretty cool weakness to these type of zombies is that they are manipulatable when it comes to their vision. I guess being in a basic state of mind, these zombies have lost the concept of object permanence, meaning that if they can't see you, they calm down and won't attack you, though they can still respond to sound cues while blinded. There also seems to be an element of a hive mind, where if one zombie sees you, then suddenly immediately all of them see you, but that could just be me reading into action scenes too closely. Regardless, with all of that foundation established, let's look at this new sequel trailer to see just what secrets can be found. So right off the bat, we can see that our new protagonist is not your average Joe like the original film. He's a soldier armed with a gun and sent off on a mission in a post-apocalyptic South Korea. He comes with a small team of 4, equipped with gear to give them night vision, an understandable progression considering zombies don't attack in the dark. And the fact that logic is being planted onto the way these characters act fact, only works more with the reveal that this film takes place 4 years after the events of Train to Busan. This is not the start of the apocalypse, and everyone is well aware of the rules and advantages that can be had over the zombie population. Plus, it kinda makes sense anyway, as Train to Busan would have released 4 years ago as well. This cinematic universe is following our timeline as well, though which one's the worst reality is kind of up for debate. Hey, at least we all have a viral pandemic in common, haha! And hey, I kinda forgot to add this into the script again, but if you're liking this content so far, then do consider subscribing. And don't forget, only you can help balance out my unbalanced sub ratio. So as the trailer continues, we come to learn that the zombies of this universe aren't letting up, still being piled on in massive crowds even 4 years later. And here's a bonus shot from the latest trailer showing the glass they're leaning on break. Now, according to the synopsis, the problems only rise up more as the team unexpectedly stumbles upon survivors who they presumably weren't aware of, and so their lives will depend on the best or worst of human nature prevails in the direst of circumstances. And we see that come along soon afterwards, as the survivors we do see seem similarly as savage as the undead, setting up an entertainment arena to punish victims with a controlled dosage of the zombie horde, created within a rundown mall. See, there's even a big red button to activate the doors. Though it looks like rope also does the job, so maybe it leads to something else? Or it's just both. In the background we see 2 signs highlighting numbers and contestants being labelled as such. They're nameless numbers to bet on now. The other trailer also shows the build-up to this, with the survivors claiming the group's van, nabbing our guy here and chucking him in. These people are mad. I mean, look at that one. He's even got like a little Joker laugh going on. Or he's secretly a crow in disguise. And what comes out of those massive doors is a massive clump of zombies, and while this could easily be seen as some new mutated monster, it seems more likely that this is just how they're stored at first to keep them immobile. And they'll soon all jump into action individually against our unlucky fighters. In another shot later on, we see this same scene of a zombie jumping, but it doesn't really add much. And then another with our protagonist, who, by the way, goes by the name of Jung Seok, though IMDb says it's Jung Suk. Never trust IMDb cast lists. He's here now, still in gear, gun in hand, protecting our arena victim, who isn't currently named on the cast list, so I'm just gonna call him like Frantic Soldier or something, by shooting the hanging corpses above the battle to produce a plume of smoke, though the explosion is a little off from the body technically. Regardless, with the rules of blindness, this moment presumably will allow an escape from the zombies amid the mist. And hey, there's an escalator in the background, just like this shot right here that seems to show right after as the zombies chase up the escalator. The dust and the water on the floor all seems to match. Now, obviously everything else about the story is jumbled behind all sorts of action shots in this trailer, but there is one other detail we do know about this original team of people. They're not all soldiers. I think it might just be the protagonist as a soldier, but I could be reading that wrong. Still, that extra detail we know though is that they had previously escaped the diseased wasteland and must now relive the horror again, and most importantly are assigned to a covert mission with 2 simple objectives: retrieve and survive. What exactly there is to retrieve is of course solely up for speculation, until the second trailer just completely reveals that it's just all for money. Oh. Hopefully it goes into why that's still valued over like traded goods in an apocalypse, you know? This second trailer also shows us more of the outside world with a map planning sequence and pointing at a bridge, the quote, "You get the truck, come back with the money," and how it's all $2.5 million for some reason in Korea and not America, as well as boating into the peninsula with some new faces, presumably part of the mission, and how it all goes awry, very, very unimaginatively. The van is theirs, but I guess it is retrieved later on for the climax. Filling the gap, we also see from this new trailer the trials of this scuffle and Jung Seok being saved by the girls with a car. The scene's also lit up, meaning the group probably set off the flares here in a panic, linking all of those other flare shots, and will probably become another tool to use later in the climax. Still, the short-haired girl here is some sort of driving pro, and not actually seen in the first trailer. Here's Jung Seok looking visibly shaken. The young girl in the car particularly seems pretty used to these circumstances, even wearing some night vision goggles. Or an accessory to something we'll see later. Throughout this trailer, we next see this guy almost always alongside this band of people, as it likely becomes a matter of helping the survivors here over completing the mission and ignoring them. Though they reach the money, so maybe it's just an escape plot with some baddies trying to get the money. Here's a dinky little car slowly making its way along this long abandoned road dock with even a full ship turned on its side here. It's not the armored car from before, but I assume this is still going to a safe haven on the edge of the water. After all, this film is called Peninsula, which by definition means a piece of land that is bordered with water on 3 sides, or is projecting into water. So literally a dead end leading to water. Very much an unfavorable setting for an outbreak, much like the narrow hallways of the train from the original. Whether that peninsula's the scale of just this city or symbolic of the entire shape of South Korea, we've yet to see. But in this safe haven, clearly there's supplies and time for Jung Seok to get to know the group. Looking like it's the kid, her big sister, the driver, and an old guy. And our older sister Min Jung, so IMDb tells me, gets a gun, and they're planning to move after sundown. Here's Jung Seok waking up, though this could easily be placed before everything else. And though there seems to be some kind of tranquility with being used to the apocalypse, clearly things can get worse as we see a few shots of some kind of survivor hold being overrun with infection once again. And it looks like a tragic backstory type with a romantic interest being destroyed. There's also a couple of new shots of before the apocalypse began, it seems. Back to Jung Seok, the safe haven doesn't seem to last long as we next see him running and gunning with the girls near some shipping containers, like the ones from before, killing all he can en route to somewhere. Moving on, here's a shot of another soldier with their gun out, potentially threateningly, until a Deus Ex Machina van comes blasting through the room, which just so happens to be the same vehicle of choice for Jung Seok and Min throughout the rest of the trailer, and the same one from before, though there's a suspicious lack of the others. They still exist though, as a fancy little life pro tip in this universe is using a lit up RC car to distract and lure zombies away in the darkness. That's honestly really cool to see, and the kid is the driver, using it to clear the way, I guess. While the others won't be in the main van, they will likely be staying in that armored car we've already seen. Okay, so now the final big moment there is to see is in the outstretched vehicle chase scene. The whole of the city has gone dark and been dark for a very long time, but with events heating up, flare guns start to get used. First seen in the distance over the city, and next shown going along the road in front of a broken windscreen, perhaps telling those on the outside to lift some bridges so the zombies can't follow after them or something. Perhaps in this world they also can't swim. We wouldn't know, because we've never really seen them in water before. Other flare shots we see are of the grandpa in the back shooting it out the side, trying to maybe light a fuse, or it's just another zombie distraction. The next shot from this we see is a car hurtling down the road with an incredible strong beam shining in the background. At first I thought this was some kind of super flare or even a nuclear explosion, but that's too American, and can easily be explained away with this. This poster shows it's actually a really powerful spotlight attached to a car, and we see it a tad more clearly in this shot here. What's its purpose? Perhaps to blind the zombies looking in that direction to make their leaps less accurate, or to signal very clearly their location to those watching onto the city from the outside. Either way, it's very dynamic, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Back to that van, we see it here just bombarding through the streets and knocking down any zombies in its path, though obviously that doesn't last too long as we later see it halted with the windscreen all smashed in. And though this is likely events that happened way earlier in the film, this van and the people in it continue to survive long enough to first be seen shooting out the side, as well as joining onto that climactic car race later on. In fact, here we see there are several cars making their way out of town. 7 cars in this shot alone, and then this shot here has the van up front. I can't really tell if the others are new, so that's at least 8 survivors. I mean, that's pretty much a slot for every face I can remember in these trailers. Still, I imagine our protagonist and elder sister is in the van, whilst grandpa, kid and driver are in the armored car, and hopefully our frantic sidekick isn't a sacrifice being left behind here. Here's a guy calling for the entrance to be blocked. In the second trailer, he says, "Kill them all, now." So while I originally thought he was an ally calling for a bridge to be lifted linking to my escape theory, maybe he's actually a human antagonist trying to block the people in and kill them. Is it for the money? Or is he wanting to kill zombies? It's kind of unclear, but what is clear is the clear change in color correction between trailers. Here's Jung Seok looking out the side with a warm light on him, and here's that same van blazing down the street with another car. And as they pass the camera, we see those beam-like cars in action with the lights being activated, blinding our view. And hey, this sidecar makes our 9th appearance. And there's clearly 3 light sources shown here and only 2 spotlights from before, I think. That's at least 10 cars in total barreling downtown. Everyone and their mother is here. With the lights now on, they reveal a blockade along the road. A massive bridge hangs over the top with, is that a train derailed over the top? How thematic. there's your Busan reference. Though don't count on the original cast making an appearance. While some people like the idea, I personally quite like just keeping that story wrapped up in its own little ribbon. Still, the zombies are all lit, and like demonic little skeletons, they all leap from atop the bridge and down onto the cars. And what happens beyond that is all up in the air. That's the last chronological shot to be seen, and finishes coverage on every shot in the first trailer. The second trailer only has a couple more details, with more bridge leaping, more armored car shenanigans, really going for that Fast and Furious vibe, I guess. The van barreling towards distracted zombies, zombies running into the light more, the armored car using zombies as a ramp to do an aileron roll, though the trailer meshes it with a completely different flipping car shot. Our antenna car crashing at the end of a ramp, something big and heavy being dropped on a new tailing truck, vehicle number 11, more action within the van, a whole lot of the protagonist gazing in the distance. Yeah, marketing, and one final sunrise scene. I really like to think that's right at the end of it all, seeing the light at the end, but I guess this could very easily be an earlier scene too, but the dry blood makes me think otherwise. And with that, we come to the end of all of our in-trailer footage coverage. But here's the thing. There would naturally be a lot of hype behind a sequel for Train to Busan. It's inevitable. Its successes at the box office were absolutely explosive, and the concept of the original film was fantastically executed. Because while the premise was something that had become very familiar in the past, I mean, it's just zombies, the nature of the characters and the actual story being told far exceeded most ordinary zombie films. Over in America, oftentimes action films come off as awfully shallow and untense, with a heroic protagonist who seems invincible with their unnaturally strong personality and ever-growing arsenal of guns. But Train to Busan stands out for not having any of that. The protagonist of that film was just a normal guy, and one with a lot of flaws. He had a family who despised him because he worked himself to death, he had little connection with his own daughter, he always looked out for himself, and he would act cowardly in every situation. And while there is an American kind of hero in the film, being brave and strong and good, he's a side character, susceptible to death. A kind of person our protagonist aspires to be, and over time learns to become a little bit more like him. Adding on to that further, the contextual setting of the zombie outbreak only allows for far more innovation and tension, as the entire film is claustrophobic. There's only narrow hallways, a dead end, and nowhere to escape. It's all about delays, misdirection, trickery, and patience, which alone makes it far more interesting than hopping from place to place across the world avoiding zombies like the weather. And then there's the element of social commentary that can be pinpointed from the actions of the characters. The film symbolically reflects South Korean culture and criticizes some of its flaws. The fact that there's a homeless person is entirely intentional. The fact that the grannies mention that young kids would riot over anything these days is representable. And the trials of the dad's work ethic and his family life is something very prominent in the real world. And the actual events that take place completely subvert the normal American formula. Characters die, sometimes the ones you least expect to. Not even the main protagonist himself, after all of his developments, is safe from the harsh reality. I guess I do talk about spoilers, oops. And the ending only adds to give that tone of mystery, as it's not fully secured on how their future will go from this point onwards. In fact, it almost just gives us the bad ending outright. What makes Train to Busan stand out so much is its intellectual approach to the genre to produce something far more visceral and new that conceptually makes it all the more terrifying to play out. But then when looking at Peninsula, there's a handful of concerns that I'm starting to brew. What a surprise, I'm being cynical about a trailer again. But really, the closer I look at this trailer, the more it looks artistically Americanized. And by that I mean shallow. Our protagonist? He's not an average guy anymore. He's a soldier with a gun. Strong, brave, invincible. The zombies? Killable, disposable, and able to be avoided with some speeding vehicles. And the emotional story point? The whole element of exploring the morals of family and doing the right thing for the people around you? Well, I guess there's pieces of that scattered in, but the survivors all seem like badass heroes too. Even if it's a moral choice between people and money, it just doesn't hit nearly as hard as a father struggling to connect with their actual daughter. It seems much more generic and basic overall. That being said, the environments look methodically specifically planned to be claustrophobic again, with fights happening in closed-ish areas and when stuck inside small cars. The zombies still seem scary, with their numbers scaling with the playground and their actions still just as raw and rabid, but the characters so far seem like shallow versions of the types from the past, or missable as a whole. And the story almost seems possible to pluck out already with these 2 trailers going on. So really, there's just conflict all around on this. Train to Busan was a truly special film that showed that the best zombie films can be made on a smaller scale. And by choosing to scale up, there's a lot of risks added that make it all less impactful and more just like popcorn bait, just generic Western crap. But this is only like 3 minutes of footage to go off of, so I guess we'll just have to see. Director Sang-ho Yong has blown us away once before, so there's no real reason he can't do it once again in a field that's been failed in many times before. Whatever the case, I'm curious to see what pops up when Train to Busan Presents Peninsula releases on whenever it does in your area. Distribution is weird, but I guess I can understand it in this case. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'll be ending it off here. For now, my name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.